Greetings, fellow humans. I am Hugh.
And I am Man.
And together we are definitely not two kobolds in a trench coat. We enjoy human activities, such as paying taxes,
having existential crises,
and RPG horror stories. Let's see what we've got today. Today, we have a player who was never happy with anything, a session 0 that reveals a player's creepiness, 2 trolls, 1 game, and a discussion about TTRPG gamers. The guy who thinks that everything sucks, by Reddit user, Bonk. I was hosting for a group of strangers, and they were in the process of creating their characters. One guy decided to be a cultist, since the only means of gaining magic in this world is to sell your soul to a higher being and gain their favour and affinity through your actions. In exchange, they reward you with power. The cult that he was born into was decided randomly through means of the dice. His first patron, the Void Core, its aspects of dominion are void, madness, nothingness, sacrifices. It gives you the power to delete things on a fundamental level and bring forth the unknowable force of the void. GM, this sucks. Void is useless. What? Okay, I'll allow you to re-roll then. Best for you to have fun. His second patron, the Warden. Its aspects of dominion are time, space, laws, and physics. It is a being of pure order that upholds the natural laws of the universe and does not take kindly to things that attempt to warp them. It gives you the powers of space-time manipulation, but punishes you severely if you use them to cause chaos. What's space? Like matter, fabric of reality? Space is weak. The Warden sucks. What? I suggest that he picks some other origin instead. He agrees and decides to be born as an engineer. So what does this do? Well, you can make contraptions and invent things. Get creative. Can I make an army of robots? Yes, but you will need a lot of materials and resources for that. And you'll need to obtain unique upgrades for the robots too. GM, why do you want me to fail? Other players were complaining that he's too whiny and is asking too many questions instead of just playing the game. Ended up ruining everyone's motivation to play.
Yeah, I'm with the players on this one. That is not fun to play with.
Asking questions is fine, but absolutely dumping on everything that you can possibly choose is just being a killjoy.
And then expecting everything to be handed to you like super easy, because arguably the Void was not the best, maybe. The time and space thing's pretty cool, but apparently he didn't understand time and space. But then being essentially an artificer, that's pretty cool. You can build an army of robots, but you have to work for it. And he's like, ugh, that sucks.
To my mind, the biggest problem this guy had was simply a lack of creativity. Those are infinitely creative powers, and he could have done so many things with them. He just lacked the imagination.
Nightmare Session 0 by Emotional Hawk 8359. I just went to a Session 0 where, full stop, nothing at all was accomplished. Largely because 2 disruptive players and the general group apathy. We started with the DM setting some ground rules. It was nothing special, but it was a good start. After that, however, I made the mistake of asking, we'll call him Build, what character he will be playing. He explained that he will be playing a 13-year-old artificer, a bit odd but no red flags yet. He then proceeds to ask whether the party will be able to find a forest succubus for the character to seduce. Major red flag, but that was only the tip of the iceberg. He let loose an endless stream of questions that were either meant for maximum power gaming, like asking for an 18-foot tall Gundam, or meant to build the biggest harem possible. His character had almost no backstory at all. He apparently was an alien, and his home planet was destroyed by the gods. What is the only thing he told us about his homeworld? The age of consent is 13.
I'm rarely for booting players from a game without giving them a second chance. But this is where you immediately boot someone. There's no recovering from this.
100%.
Get him the hell out of there.
Boop, you go to horny jail and then maybe actually real jail after that. Another guy, we'll call him Iron, was constantly telling him to shut up. It was in a playful way, but they also clearly hated what he was saying. And yet he never took the hint. The DM had completely stopped contributing to the Session 0 at this point, but I pulled aside Iron to know how well he actually knows build. He replied decently, but he always asks cringy questions, but never really tries anything in-game. I wanted to accept that as an answer, but to me, writing a backstory that involves a child exploitation is considered trying something. He was also clear that his 13-year-old character used to have several wives, so we're just gonna have to try and ignore that. Anytime I tried to redirect the conversation back to the character creation, he cut me off just so he could continue trolling. Eventually, Build left the call for whatever reason, and I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that we could finally discuss our D&D characters. Then I had the sad realization that nobody in the call actually was interested in discussing D&D. Anytime I asked someone, "What do you think you'll play?" I was only given a class. Iron was also domineering the call. Much of the first half was watching him argue with Build. He also described his characters as so insane that he flips all the way around to being sane. I don't know if that was technically a red flag, but when people describe their characters as insane without explaining what makes them insane, I've found that it never goes well. I never even got to say what I would be playing because I didn't feel comfortable explaining the backstory unless someone asked me. I asked everyone else about their characters but never came back to me. Overall, this Session 0 was objectively a failure, except that it showcased a long list of red flags, and I'm not excited to play with someone who has a 75% chance of being a pedophile.
Oh, right, I see. Pedophile.
I think the odds are a bit higher than that, OP. This is a guaranteed certainty.
I'll say 99.9 because you never know, but you kinda know. The only reason that I'm considering staying for the campaign is that I like the DM. He's a friendly guy, but is a newbie with poor English and self-confidence. I feel like he may struggle more than the other DMs to find players, and I don't want to leave him with the wolves. I feel like if I leave the campaign, the chances of him quitting D&D are vastly higher. Yes, I know I don't owe him anything, but this isn't about me repaying a debt. This is about me seeing something good that I could do, even at the expense of my own mental health. TLDR, I went to a Session 0 featuring a raging super creep, or at least someone pretending to be one for the lulz, an incredibly domineering person who made it difficult to speak. The rest of the group seemed overall disengaged. I want to have the DM's back though, so should I give this campaign another chance before I bail? Or is this just no coming back from such an awful Session 0?
OP, I feel you. You don't want to abandon the DM to these people. However, even with you there, that's not going to save it. This game will quickly fall apart, and you will be utterly miserable by the end of it, and so will the DM. Best thing to do is to bail on the game, but message the DM privately and say, "Hey, I don't think this game is going to work for me, but if it goes wrong, message me and I'll happily join any other game you want to DM with a new group."
There wouldn't be any harm in messaging the DM and being like, "Hey, just so you know, these are some of the red flags that I noticed, and I know you're new, but do not, I beg you, do not join this campaign."
Definitely. Get the hell out, but speak to the DM first in private and just let him know the red flags and that you'll be very happy to join another game with a new group if he wants to do one. But most importantly, save yourself. Honestly, I'm going to be counting the weeks until we hear about the horror story that is this campaign. OP or DM, if this does become a full horror story, feel free to email it to us. We'd love to read it. Our email is in the description below. Double the Trouble. 2 trolls ruin the campaign by being creeps. By Reddit user, National Surprise 353. Another story from me. So, for a long time I was stuck as a forever DM, but I kind of enjoyed it. I'm a very creative man, able to make a lot of what is stuck inside my head. I created a Warhammer fantasy campaign set in a homebrew world. Basically, the premise of the campaign would be to have a large world with lots of stories in it, with a ton of possibilities to start your own business. The group was very inconsistent except for 2 players who were on each session. I will refer to them by the nicknames from my script. We have Geralt at Home and Grass Addict. The problem started at the very beginning where the character arrived on the island via a jail ship where they were going to be set free to start a new life as colonizers for the Empire. The mayor of the city came to welcome the new inhabitants and give them their papers. Very official situation, to say the least. First thing to happen was that Geralt wanted to hug the mayor. I was shocked, but allowed it. When he did so, the mayor pushed him, showing that this is not how you greet a government official. I said that Geralt needs to roll because he was about to trip on the holes between the boards of the pier. He critically succeeded. He narrated it as doing a bunch of backflips. It was back when I allowed players to have too much creative freedom without any sort of redacting action from me. After a couple of hours of the session, the party stumbled upon a shrine of Shaula, filled to the brim with healer female. There's a reason why I put emphasis on their biological gender. Clerics dressed in typical nun attire. Once I described the shrine, the grass addict started to act up. I asked the player what is wrong with his character, except for the fact he described his character as high 24/7. He answered, "Grass addict is attracted to all nuns and representatives of cult of Shaula, and guess what? They are both." I tried to explain that they have a vow of celibacy, and his character attempting to hit on them would be judged as heresy, which at worst would leave him burning on a stake. But he didn't care. That's his character, and his character can be attracted to whatever he wants. Geralt's player was hyping him up on the idea. I didn't know what to do. The session ended and the players renamed my campaign to Sexy Island. Sadly, the original name is gone, since that name stuck with the group. This is a clear sign of the slow death of my campaign.
Yeah, so we can all see some of the red flags already. Like, yes, it's true that players get to be attracted to whoever they want to be attracted to, but that doesn't mean that there aren't in-game consequences for said attraction. If you're going to be attracted to a nun, which is heresy, then you gotta be prepared to burn at the stake for it.
Only, he didn't say whoever. He said whatever, which is even more alarming. Somehow. Well, we know how.
I was trying to be nice and give people humanity.
No mercy.
There is no mercy.
A bunch of sessions later, the party ended up in a haunted house because they were abducted by Skaven, and one of the tunnels from which they escaped from led to said house. I planned a puzzle-filled haunted house full of traps and a boss to fight at the end. Once the party made it to the second floor of the house, above the boss room, I started to describe that they hear female screaming below them. The boss fight was meant to be against a demon baby, which the party was going to assist in giving birth to. It was completely fine because I warned the entire group in advance that there was going to be some gruesome imagery, and if they feel like quitting because of it, it would be completely fine. Once the party heard the screams, the two problem players started screaming like monkeys in a zoo and hitting the floor with their weapons. "Ooh, ooh, ooh. Woman, a Shalia in need and we need to save her!" They could not break the floor, of course, because it was made of thick layer of concrete. After a couple of hours of puzzle solving, they finally made it to the boss room. The atmosphere was very dark. The demon baby was in the air, floor filled with black ooze and green lights flickering all around as from the child's mouth, a bunch of tentacles sprouted. I'm preparing to read it. I'm taking
We both read that line at the same time and we're like, no, please don't make me read that.
I attack him with my condom, said Grass Addict player. Wait, you do what? Okay, I attack with 2 condoms, dual wielding them. I should have ended the session there, but I allowed that. It of course didn't do any damage, obviously, but left the baby with permanent status effect that basically did nothing. I called it Disgust Effect. After the fight, the session ended. Worst thing is that Geralt player supported Grass Addict player in everything he did. The campaign died because when I was trying to write any kind of fun, serious and dark atmospheric script, I knew they would do something stupid and kill the vibe. Later I learned the goal of both players was to defeat the GM and F me as much as they can. Bonus, I was on a session made by Grass Addict player. Good ideas were buried under gambling, being addicted to substances, serial killers without any consequences, and filled with Geralt player goofing around as a bard playing songs for no reason, just to hype up the tavern, and impregnating everything he encountered. It made me really sad because there were some good ideas buried under basically acted like children, maniacal psychopaths. Don't be me, be more assertive.
I don't understand the mindset of people who go into a game being like, let's see how much we can F with the DM, let's win this. Is your entire goal to just suck the life out of everything around you in life? Because I feel like that's your lifelong dream, is to be a social vampire.
We've all known these people in our lives. Hopefully the last time you encountered one was when you were in school, but the people who just get their fun from just ruining it for everyone else, I'm just so tired of them. I'm exhausted even thinking about it now, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. It's exhausting because in our adult lives, we have adult things to do and we don't have time to deal with people who are literally just out to ruin everything around them instead of deal with their issues. It's just so childish. And it's like, yeah, I mean, one or two of those things might have been a little bit funny in the right context. You know, like, I don't know, having your spiritual weapon as a cleric be a condom. Maybe that works. That might be kind of funny.
I'm more concerned about how big this guy thought a condom was that it could have done anything.
I dropped my monster condom that I used for my Magnum Dong.
Or was he just like flicking a packet at it?
I was imagining it filled with bricks or something, or yeah, but
Condoms break too easily for that.
I'm thinking about this too much. Let's me talk about something else, please.
Yeah, you're overthinking the condom thing.
Let's move on to a less cringy story.
I love TTRPGs. I hate TTRPG gamers. By Reddit user Wrongcommie. This is going to be more of a rant based on my experience, but I have to say it somewhere in here. Most of the stereotypes about TTRPG gamers are true. I have left one of my gaming tables because of this. Now I'm looking for a new one and, God, why can't you guys just be effing normal for once? I can understand that in the 90s and early 2000s, when this was niche, only the weirdest of weirdos liked the hobby. I was 15 at the time. Of course I was a weird kid. But god effing damn it, you have either had time to grow up, or you've been born in a time where TTRPGs are becoming mainstream. The F is your excuse now. How can a grown 30-plus-year-old SOB ask me to be a Malkavian with the child flaw whose derangement is nymphomania? How can I find people who can't still hold a conversation for more than 10 minutes and not struggle to retain information from the beginning of the same conversation? How come, when I come to a new table, I have to struggle for people to look me in the eye and say, "Hey, welcome to our table"? Do you guys really think it's better to huddle over each other, hunching and looking at your character sheets, than just mumble a "hey" towards my general direction? Do you think it's welcoming to play in an L5R as a new player who doesn't know the setting and give me the side eye because my character is dishonorable? Do you think it's effing normal that I always have to be the one ordering the pizzas because you can't talk to the cashier girl? Do you think I will think highly of you if, when your flatmate passes by to the kitchen, you come closer and say, "You see that piece of I have tapped that"? No. You haven't, Steve. No, you effing haven't. Because she looks at us like we're a couple of effing creeps. Probably because you are an effing creep, and she has assumed rightly that I am by association.
That is quite the laundry list. A lot of it very valid. Some of it I can chalk up to potential social awkwardness or neurodivergence, as many of us who play TTRPGs probably are.
Yeah, that's the one thing I will say is that even though TTRPGs are a lot more mainstream, they do tend to attract a certain kind of person, which is a more socially awkward, largely neurodivergent group.
Of course, that only excuses some social awkwardness or not being able to maintain eye contact. It does not excuse being a creep about women working in the store. It doesn't excuse
making up stories about your flatmate.
A lot of this stuff is very unacceptable. Some of it is just social awkwardness and neurodivergence, and maybe needs a little more patience.
Trying to find a game can be a challenge, and sometimes you end up bouncing from game to game either because it just doesn't vibe with you or because there are actual weirdos and creeps in the group.
Hey man.
Hey, what?
Where can you learn how to be a witch?
Where?
On Wikipedia. And with that, we have definitely not been two kobolds in a trench coat. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and make the necessary sacrifices to Tiamat. We'll see you next time.